Hi friends, welcome to Pragmatic View channel. Today I'm going to discuss about what is National Land Monetization Corporations. So here we go. Today the Union Cabinet approved the setting up of National Land Monetization Corporations, NLMC. Okay, so let us try to understand what is NLMC. So it will be 100% owned Government of India company with an initial authorized share capital of 5,000 crore and paid off share capital of rupees 150 crores. Okay, so this company will be completely controlled and owned by the government of India. So why? So now why NLMC? Why it is required? As you know, there are at present surplus and unused and underused non-core assets such as land and buildings of central public sector enterprises. So in India, there are many central public sector enterprises whose assets are not in use. Therefore, as it is said, there are non-core assets which are no longer in use. They are lying unused. What I mean to say, okay? So due to a strategic disinvestment or closer monetizations of this surplus land and non-core asset is very important, okay, to unlock their value. For example, and land is lying vacant, so we have to, unlock the value of the land. Unless we value or we monetize or we do not calculate the land in monetary value, it will be just like an asset which is giving no returns. Okay, so therefore in order to, for example, a company is going to close, we have to then the lands or the assets will be, you know will will be no longer in use. Therefore this NLMC will, okay, with monetizations of non-core assets, the government will be able to generate substantial revenues by monetizing unused and underused assets. So therefore, what this NLMC will do, for example, there are so many assets which are no longer in use. The government will monetize those. Okay, and by monetizing this, government will, generate revenues or the incomes. Okay, so this will enable productive utilizations of these underutilized assets to trigger private sector investment, new economic activities, boost local economy, and generate financial resources for economic and social infrastructures. So what we'll do? So as I said, the land and buildings are lying, unused. Therefore, this NLMC will, monetize them, and after monetizing, this government will, encourage private sector to invest in those lands, or bring up factories, bring up startups. Okay, and also giving the land on lease. So in this way, the government's trying to, generate the financial resources for various developments. Okay, so what's the functions of NLMC? As I said, you know NLMC will monetize the surplus land and buildings assets of central public sector enterprises and other government agencies. For example, as I have given here, there are, 3,400 acres of land and other non-core assets for monetizations. Okay, from where? Central public sector enterprises such as BSNL, MTNL, BPCL, among others. There are so many companies where their assets are no longer in use and land are not in use. Therefore, this NLMC will, undertake the monetizations of this land and encourage the public sector companies or the investors to invest their fund, and this will this will enhance the government's revenues from the unused assets. So here I have used so many terms like non-core assets. What actually it is means. Non-core assets are the assets that are either not essential or simply no longer used in a company's business operations. Okay. As I said in my explainers also, this is what the simple definitions of the non-core assets. In other words, I can say non-core assets are often sold when a company needs to raise cash. Okay. And some business sell their non-core assets in order to pay down their debts to the creditors. Okay. If the company is facing some financial crisis and they have so much of debt, then they easily sold off their non-core assets. So here the government is trying to say is that there are so many lands and buildings of the central public sector enterprises. This has to be monetized in a systematic manner so that the public sector comes in and invest their fund and then generate so many revenues for the development and economic, basically the economic and the social infrastructure. Okay. And if I say that the terms like disinvestment, what is disinvestment? Okay. If I say, let me also explain in this in brief. Disinvestment means, sale or liquidations of assets by the government, usually central and state governments, enterprises. Okay. So we can, in simple terms, we can also say that the sale of assets from government to private sectors. When this is what, in simple terms, this investment means. Okay. And in another way, we can say that the actions of an organizations or government selling or liquidating an assets or a strategy company to the private sectors. Okay. So I hope you understood, and thank you so much for paying attention.